Hello, guys. It's me, Greed here. Sorry if you're my dog in the background. He is still a dog. Anyway, I was on the forums. What a mistake that was. And what did he say specifically? I'll actually pull it up because I think it's important that I actually name what he said or read out what he said. So anyway, I was on the forums, and this guy said, Zarya is overtuned in this meta. She's nearly unkillable and does too much damage as a tank. She outdamages twice compared to the other tanks. Nerf her as soon as possible. I actually don't know if Zarya is super meta. I am really not playing the game that much. I think I've played like 3 hours this whole season. I'm really not playing all that much. Anyway, so is Zarya the meta tank? I don't really know. But anyway, that sparked some discussion about how Zarya is a D.Va counter, which is just fucking retarded, but okay. I said, why do people always parrot that Zarya is a D.Va counter? No, she isn't. Just because Beam goes through defense matrix doesn't make her a counter. And then someone on the forums replied to me and said, isn't she in 5v5? Her only source of damage mitigation is rendered useless against Zarya. It's not unwinnable, but it's certainly in Zarya's favor. I'm biased though because I love Zarya. So that's an interesting point, but it's simply not true. A big thing with Zarya and D.Va matchup is that a Zarya wants to kill a D.Va, but a D.Va never wants to be killed by a Zarya. Obviously. But D.Va can actually get away from a Zarya. Getting away from Zarya is very easy on D.Va. And you've both got different jobs. You're never going to be in a scenario where a D.Va is fighting for the same angle that a Zarya is. It's just not going to happen, right? So they're never going to collide, you know what I'm saying? The Zarya is never going to be pressuring a D.Va out of an angle, because a D.Va doesn't give a shit about standing on an angle. The D.Va only cares about forcing other people out of angles, not occupying an angle herself, because she's not useful in an angle. Unlike a Zarya, who wants to occupy an angle, but is also good at pressuring at angles, and she's dueling out those angles, but she mainly wants to be in an angle herself, because she's got that high damage output, and she wants to be in an area where she can actually fight a squishy and so on. But a D.Va doesn't. So D.Va and Zarya are almost never going to interact with each other. And another part of why D.Va does not, or Zarya doesn't counter D.Va, is that if you catch a Zarya off guard and she doesn't have any bubbles, D.Va has fucking ridiculous damage output. Same as Zarya. People just don't realize it for some reason. A D.Va shooting a Zarya in a straight 1v1, if the Zarya has no bubbles, D.Va wins. D.Va fucking fries Zarya. She does so much damage. It's crazy. Now, obviously, that's... depending on rank, that will happen more often or less often. You'd be surprised how often it happens in top 500, where Zarya players just think they just see D.Va and they're like, I'll kill her, and the D.Va just blows them up because she does so much damage. So it's not uncommon. But another thing is, a big part of fighting D.Va, or fighting Zarya as a D.Va, is that you have the ability to defense matrix and micro missile. Now, a lot of people are going to think that doesn't seem that useful against a Zarya because the beam just goes through the defense matrix. How is defense matrix really good against Zarya? And the defense matrix is really good against Zarya because if you get into a 1v1 with a Zarya as a D.Va and you're winning because she has no bubbles, a Zarya is going to try and get away from you. They're going to try and rocket jump. They're going to try and grab you around a corner to get away. They're going to try something to get away. If you defense matrix micro missile the D.Va or the Zarya, she can't rocket jump anymore because you're eating her right clicks, and she can't grab you because you're eating grav. So instantly, D.Va or Zarya cannot get away from you on D.Va. If you want a Zarya, you're gonna get her on D.Va. So that's another big part, is a D.Va really, really hard dictates the fight between a Zarya and a D.Va, when those fights happen and so on, which makes killing D.Va as Zarya only really possible if the D.Va lets it happen. So in a lot of cases, picking Zarya into D.Va is good in and in some cases, sure, but it's not like a counter like you'd pick Ana into Hog, for example. It's just one of those things where if the occasion arises where you're able to shoot the D.Va with your beam and you've got 100 charge and she's not going to kill you, then it might feel like a counter. But the only reason that a Zarya would feel like a D.Va counter is if you're playing D.Va wrong. There's really never a scenario we should ever let D.Va or Zarya be on you, almost ever, as D.Va. And if you are pulling so much aggro that Zarya is like peeling and pushing back, you're actually winning. You want that Zarya chasing you around everywhere, because if you go backline and Zarya chases you backline and you manage to get out, you've created so much space that the D.Va's winning that engagement almost every time, right? Even if she gets demeched sometimes, she's still going to end up winning because the amount of space she generated, depending on how long it takes them to get rid of the D.Va. But anyway, another person replied to me and they quoted me and said, just because Beam goes through defense matrix doesn't make her a counter. And then he replied to this and said, in a 5v5 format where objectives are made happen or made lost on the front line, don't know what the fuck that means, yeah, you better be dang sure that if one tank causes another one to leave the objective in terror, all while contesting it, that's a hard counter. While 6v6 is another story since characters like D.Va are no longer saddled with the responsibility to be the playmaker and the drive of the objective, contribute consistently by diving the backline, but in 5v5 it doesn't happen since you can't get out of the front line or the objective will be lost. So this is a rank issue, obviously. Now, whether this guy is gold or silver or plat or diamond, I don't know what it is. But whatever it is, we are definitely playing at different ranks. And people are going to look at the fucking diamond rank in my gameplay and say he's a diamond player, which is fair enough, it's funny. I just think if I'm going to play this game, this is tangent. If I'm going to play this game and it's this low quality and the game is so bad and the balance is so bad and the Q times are so bad, I'm going to fucking play in Diamond. Also, every game I play into, you'll see I'm playing with Skeffy, my girlfriend. So I basically don't solo queue. I never solo queue and I always smurf in Diamond to play with my girlfriend. There is literally no other scenario I'm really playing this game anymore. So that's the main reason I'm playing in Diamond. Plus, I can play like 5 Diamond games in the time I can play 1 champ game. So I'm just going to keep playing in Diamond. Anyway, I usually, not so much anymore because I don't play the game so much anymore, but generally speaking, I play like a low champ, high top 500 level. I've been ranked 1 multiple times. I was ranked 1 all World Season 11 and so on. And I also coach the game professionally. I coach the game for a living. And not to be disrespectful to anyone's ranking, but in any case where a D.Va and a Zarya are fighting point together, I think the D.Va has monumentally trolled, or her team has, if you know what I'm saying. There's very rarely a scenario where a D.Va and a Zarya have to stand on point and face each other, unless it's like 1v1 OT, and even then, the only time that would really happen is if you've already forced bubbles out of Zarya, so then you actually have a chance of killing your own D.Va. But even then, like, the only time a Zarya really has a huge advantage against a D.Va is if they're 1v1ing and Zarya has 2 bubbles and already got high charge. Outside of like that, and pretty, not necessarily niche scenario, but outside of that scenario, there's not really a fucking world where a Zarya is smoking a D.Va consistently. It just doesn't happen. Especially not in my ranking. It does happen sometimes, obviously, because people aren't perfect. Like, humans are going to make mistakes. But again, this must be a lower rank thing that I'm simply just not getting. Maybe in gold, Zarya players or D.Va players think they should be hard frontlining, and they end up facing off Zarya, and they think, oh, I'm getting fucked, I don't know what to do. But in reality, you're basically playing a really fat tracer on D.Va a lot of the time, where you're just kind of forcing people out of angles and pressuring people. Like, trust me, lock D.Va and just hard focus squishies on off angles, you will delete them in any rank basically below GM. Even the Masters, find an Ashe on an off angle and just DM her as you fly at her to eat coach, and you just fucking delete her off the face of the earth. It is so broken. D.Va is very, 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 very good. But, of course, people don't notice that because Hazard's really good, Ball's really good, and I guess maybe Zarya is really good too this patch, I don't really know. But it is what it is. I can understand why people think that D.Va is some, like, gets fucked by Zarya, because it kind of seems that way with how Defense Matrix operates. But a high-level D.Va player is almost never getting fucked by a high-level Zarya player, unless that D.Va player is trolling her brains out, or the Zarya player is like Guru or something, is like one of the greatest of all time. Which in that case, you just kind of lose by default. You could be fucking Superman, and Guru is probably going to kill you, but, you know. The game's the game. The game is the game. And obviously, this will apply to other heroes as well. A lot of people assume that certain heroes counter certain heroes, even when they don't. I guess, what are some other examples of something where people assume something to be a big counter when it's not? I think Winston D.Va is another big one. People used to think that Winston D.Va, and I was a puppeter of this too, I used to think Winston D.Va was favored towards the D.Va. I don't think so. Maybe back when D.Va was ultra buffed and like ridiculously OP a few months ago, I would agree that, yeah, D.Va kind of fucks Monkey. But basically every patch outside of that, I think the Monkeys had the advantage. A big reason people thought that D.Va countered Winston is because Winston had a giant head hitbox that D.Va could just kind of eat through. And in a raw 1v1, the D.Va wins, obviously. But when Monkey is shield dancing and just kind of on D.Va, like counter diving, it's really hard for a D.Va to force any angles out. The thing is Monkey can kind of just like play the battle of attrition thing in the dive and like when there's two dive things going on, like when a D.Va's diving his team and Monkey's diving her team. Winston can play a battle of attrition thing because he can be in for a lot longer than a D.Va can in a lot of cases because his bubble's going to last longer than defense breakaways. He's gonna shield dance. He's gonna cleave, and that's not necessarily always true, but to some degree, at least in most cases, a Winston can generally be in longer than a D.Va, and they can also kind of pressure backline a little easier too, because a big thing with D.Va is she kind of needs to be in a corner or in an angle or near cover or something to kind of fully operate well, because otherwise she gets spammed out super hard. A Monkey can kind of just jump to anywhere on the map or any corner or wherever it may be and kind of be able to operate successfully because of the fact he's got bubble and so on. So he can kind of go anywhere where the D.Va's kind of restricted to her thing. So a lot of people thought that D.Va just shooting Monkey would just kind of win, but Monkey has a lot more options than a D.Va does, and even in the 1v1, Monkey could survive for so long that it didn't really matter in a lot of cases, because, and you would just shoot through the armor. Like once you were through the armor, the Winston had a really good chance of winning. So that was another thing people were confused about for a long time, which is also not true. I could probably make more videos about what actually counters what, because I know a lot of people power on about how they hate counter swapping, and I agree. I fucking hate counter swapping too. I think it's cringe and lame. I think it's a cheap strategy. But a lot of people get it wrong with counter picking. People just look at certain heroes and they go, yeah, of course that hero counters. Like people think like Ana hard counters Hog, and like yeah, to some degree, absolutely, Ana counters Hog, but it's not like some counters where it's just like you pick it and you're at an inherent advantage. Like for example, Moira counters Genji. That's a just raw advantage that the Moira's got in a lot of cases, especially if the Moira's playing correctly and is playing flank Moira. Which, by the way, I want to make a video on Moira because it seems as though almost everyone outside of like the top 500 Genji, Moira one tricks actually know how to play fucking Moira. I see so many Moira shorts and like small clips of people telling people how to play Moira and like talking about fucking Moira, and they're always so wrong. They do not know how to play Moira at all effectively. They do not know. So I might make a Moira video explaining how to actually play the fucking hero, because no one knows what they're doing on the hero. People are just assume heal bot, stun your team, heal people up, and it's just like, no. Moira's a DPS character. Take it from me. Moira is the best flanker in the game. And I'll stand by that. Anyway, I love you all. This was not like a super crazy video or anything. It's just something that personally I wanted to talk about. Honestly, I prefer doing these videos anyway. I like just like hitting record and just kind of talking. I know some people like that too. Some people obviously don't. But it is what it is. You know, I'm just doing it because I'm having a good time. It's something I wanted to talk about. Tell me other stuff I should talk about. That would be a good idea. Comment what I should talk about. It can be anything. Hopefully Overwatch related, but anything. Like you want to learn about D.Va gameplay. You wanna understand counters more. You want me to make a video about some maps, or you want me to talk about this hero's balance, or you wanna talk about something else, or some skins, or whatever it may be. I don't care. Whatever you want me to talk about, I will talk about, as long as you obviously tell me. Anyway, have a good day, guys. Mwah. I love you all. I appreciate you all. I hope you have a fantastic day. And I hope you eat some delicious food.